Hey, well, it's good to see you today. We've got one more person that needs to sit down. Can we scoot you over just a little bit? I think we can. Yeah, there we go. There. Okay, everybody?
May you read again? I feel like
You're doing a good job.
we're the 100 Grannies, and if you look at our hats, that's what it says. See, we're part of, and we're all about the ages of your grandmothers, maybe a little older or younger, but about that age. And most of us have grandchildren, not everybody, but we have grandchildren, and we really think that we want to keep the world just as nice and safe and clean as we can for you guys and our grandchildren and even their kids, even when you guys grow up and have kids. And we want the Iowa River and all of Iowa and the world to be a nice place to grow up and live in, just like it is now. And maybe even clean up the river a little bit and make things even better. So this is just our little chance to show you about the Iowa River, which is what have you gone down to see the river yet? Yeah. Have you had that?
You know what? We're going to put your hat in here because we don't want it. It's such a nice hat. We don't want it to be messy.
This activity is called Who Polluted the Iowa River? There were many times, many years ago, when there was a time, many years ago, when our land was very wild. This was a time before roads and cars. Only a small number of people lived then. These native people depended on nature for many of the things they needed to survive. Other kids have been telling us that you've studied Native Americans. Have you studied that in school? Mm-hmm. And you saw how they live so simply and they get almost everything they need from the water. They don't even have a storage. So everything they need, they have to make it in nature, something like that. And they're very inventive, aren't they? They don't, and because of that, they don't have a lot of trash either. Because they just use the same things over and over. They have to make everything. So these people hunted in the woods and found food in the wetlands and caught fish in the Iowa River. The beautiful, sparkling river was home to fish and other wildlife. So this is like the Iowa River was then back then. And those people got their food from it, they drank the water, and it was nice and clear and clean. Would you drink from that water?
Do you have to have clean water to live? Yeah. And they did too, and we still need clean water to live. It's very important.
Just pretend this was taken from the river a long, long time ago. The river has changed a lot since then. This is the story telling about how some of the things have happened since then. More and more people began to move into the area. Gradually, Iowa City grew up along the river, and Iowa City was one of the first cities on this side of the Mississippi. Not the first one, but one of the first ones. And gradually, people drained the wetlands and cut down the trees to build houses and schools and churches and stores and roads and hospitals and other buildings. And rainwater washed the loose soil from where they were building, because everything was covered just like it is out here. It's covered with trees and prairie, which is bigger than this, of course. And the soil wasn't exposed that much. It wasn't out in the open. It was like, this was very unusual because there were always plants. But when people started digging into the ground to make buildings and roads and things, of course they had to clear away the trees and the grasses and things, and then the soil was exposed. And it could wash down into the river when the rain or the wind came.
I bet we have some good helpers here. Wait, I'm going to put just a pinch in. Just take a little pinch, and put it in the water. What do we call that? Immersion in the water would get in there if it gets in.
Sometimes, mostly by water, but also even wind can blow it in the river.
Yeah, if you've had a swimming pool in the backyard, a little pool or a wading pool, you come out the next morning, it's not so clean. The wind might blow things in. Is it going to float, sink, or suspend in the middle? What is it doing? Can you give it a little pinch?
Making it dirty.
Making it dirty. Do you think it's going to float, sink, or suspend? What's it doing?
Some of it's floating, some is sinking.
Okay, and
The big
some
chunks
of
are-
it is, if you look carefully, is suspending.
That's because soil is made up of a lot of different things. There's little tiny bits of rock, almost like littler than sand. And there's plant material like rotted plants and animals and things like that that have died. and all kinds of things in the soil. So, would you drink this water now?
No.
Do you think it's safe for animals, though?
No.
Yeah,
Probably.
kinda.
I don't think the fish would mind.
Well, the deer won't mind.
But that's all they have to drink. They don't really have a choice. They can't go to the faucet instead, can they? And everything needs water to live. At first, Iowa City was small and upstream, which means the river flows down from a higher place. It flows down, and if you go the opposite way from where the river is flowing, it's upstream. So anything that happens upstream flows down and comes to the lower places. Upstream, farmers planted crops to help feed all the people as the town grew. Some used fertilizers to make their crops grow faster and produce more grain. Some farmers raised pigs and cattle and chicken in their barnyards. As the rainwater drained out of the fields and the barnyards, it carried some fertilizer and manure into the little creek behind the river. The creek grows and flows into the river. So, you want to tell about that?
This is horse manure, but you notice I'm putting my fingers in it. It's okay to touch because it's been composted. It means sitting and mixed with dirt and other things for about 2 years. And this would be good to put on your garden, wouldn't it? But would it be good to have in your
chicken.
water?
Manure. Yeah, all
Just
kinds of
another
manure
pinch
works.
of manure.
You just can't put fresh manure, like you can't just put your dog.
Wait,
doggy
even-
Oh, you
doo
can smell it. Yeah.
right
See if
on
you-
the.
Do you smell
Wait,
it?
have to
also
let it
human
rest.
in this
Like
waste?
anything, doesn't
Some
it?
people do. In
Okay, did
America,
you
we
put it
tend to
in?
think that's not very safe.
Okay.
But it is
Take a
some,
pinch.
in some
Watch
parts of
and
the
see
country.
what this is going to do. Is it going to suspend in the
doesn't
middle,
smell.
flow,
You can
or
smell your
sink?
hands and you just, it doesn't smell like it. It's just different.
By letting it just get completely composted, then it's not going to carry diseases and things like that.
It'd be really good for the plants.
Yeah, it makes them grow really good.
And you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but it doesn't smell like anything. And it just looks like dirt, Think about it. When you drive around in the country, ugh, 2 years and then it doesn't have any bad smell. One of our grannies raises horses, and so she brought it yesterday. Okay, that's good. Thank you. Want to smell your hand? Do you smell anything?
No.
Huh, I don't either. Not a thing.
But the problem remains. Would you drink this water now?
No.
No, probably not.
I'm the youngest.
You think it's safe for fish and other animals?
No.
Yeah. It might be after a while, but the nicer, clear water was better, wasn't it? But people wouldn't want to drink that at all. Now, Iowa City has grown to be one of the largest cities in Iowa. Many people live and work in and around Iowa City. Many businesses provide services for these people. Factories make things that people want, like tires and furniture and toothbrushes. So when people make things in a factory, they tend to use chemicals sometimes, or oils, or they paint, like they might paint what they're making. So you can't put paint in your trash or down your drain because that is really bad. And so when you have extra paint, you're supposed to take it to the landfill, and then they have a special process that they deal with that paint. So we're not using real paint, we're using food color and water, but we're pretending this is paint. Because we wouldn't.
I don't want to drink it.
No.
No.
So that's the paint and chemicals that might wash down
It's not
from
good
where
for
the different
fish.
factories. No, and it's not good to drink, and it's not good for anybody at this point. Pretty bad. As we move about in our busy days, we often drive our children to school and to after-school activities. We drive to work and to grocery stores and meetings. If we don't take good care of our car, it could leak oil or other fluid which will be washed off into the streets. So this is real motor oil, like people put in their cars. And you know, sometimes on the driveways there's black spots where the oil has leaked down on it.
That's not
Sometimes in the parking lot. What happens to the oil?
The bubble.
It bubbles. So what happens?
Yeah.
It does the same thing with vinegar, like when you're dyeing it.
Yeah, that's gross.
It floats.
Only until you stir it.
Yeah. But when you stir it, oil still stays on the top, I think. We could. We haven't put soap in it yet, have we? No. We could shake it then and show them how it's shaken.
Now,
You are. Yeah.
think it'll mix up. You know, sometimes when we have oil spills, they put dispersant on top of it to make it mix up. I think it's better to try to clean up the top and mix it up with dispersant.
Look, now if you just look, this yellow band will just kind of get a little bigger for a while, and that's this oil floating on the top. See the yellow on top?
See the line?
They're not such big bubbles anymore, but that's where it is.
So it did kind of disperse it a bit.
It's not really bubbles, but globules or whatever. So, would you drink this water now?
No!
Dad is out washing the car in the driveway. The soapy water runs down the driveway into the storm drain that empties into the river. The grease and grime on the car contains tar from the roads and tiny bits of rubber from the wearing of tires. If he had gone to the car wash instead, the water would have been cleaned before it went back into the river. But when it goes down the driveway, it doesn't get clean.
Don't they make smell?
Well, let's not shake the soap because it kind of hides that oil. That's what I was thinking, but that's okay. So let's let him put some.
This is like what you find in the driveway sometimes. This is actually just pieces of
Yeah.
tar right in
I
front.
have a blacktop road that's near my house, and I went out and just dug that up along the side of the road. Kind of scraped it, with a little garden thing. I had to be really careful about the cars, though. I was kind of scared.
It's in there. It's in there.
That's sinking or floating? Sinking. That's definitely sinking.
How about you now? Just reach in there. This is what you find in your driveway. And during the rain, it washes off your driveway and goes into the street, and then it goes down the sewer. Do you know what the sewer is?
Yeah,
Yeah. And where does the water go from the sewer?
the river.
Exactly.
And then the river goes out to the ocean.
Do you know what it says on top of the sewer by my house? There's a picture of a fish, and it says, "Do not dump any paint or oil in here because it goes right to the river." Did you do some? You
No.
gonna put that in? Okay. There you go. Ugh. Yuck.
On a nice day, many people head to the river or the reservoir. How many of you get to go to the reservoir once in a while? Or go down to the river? You probably drive by the river, don't you? Even if you don't ever go there. Some families like to do that and some don't. And anyway, some people even get boats, and they sometimes when you're filling the boat, it's really hard not to get some gasoline or some oil in the water. And so we're going to put some more oil that'd be kind of like the gasoline or the oil from the
It's gonna be really good.
from filling the motor boats, or it could even be from cooking when you grill out at a picnic or something. Or maybe have some oil in your pan.
Is there any garbage part?
Can you see that layer that's coming in? Floating on the top?
So, on the shore, a person is fishing and snags his hook on a log. Instead of untangling it, the person simply breaks off the nylon fishing line and lets it fall into the water. And you see that a lot if you go out where there's water. Where people have been fishing and they just leave their
Now,
hook and everything just
what's gonna
attached.
happen?
Will this be good for
Animals. Bad for animals.
why?
Because they'll just like eat it and then get poisoned.
No, they'll choke.
I mean, could they get tangled in the wire?
Yeah.
In the fishing line?
And they'll get really hurt from the hook.
Somebody was telling us about this. They actually saw a duck that had all that kind of stuff wrapped around its leg, and she actually was able to help the duck. But if we weren't there to help the duck, my goodness, just think. Lots of people are having picnics in the park along the river. Some of these people leave their trash on the shore. You wouldn't do that, would you?
No.
You always either, if you don't have a trash can where you're picnicking, you should pack your junk up and take it home and dispose of it at your house. You should never just leave it on the ground.
This is kind of the worst kind of trash because it really doesn't biodegrade. What is this?
Plastic.
Plastic.
Like if somebody had plastic on their sandwich or had their lunch in a bag or something like that. Or their
Could fish
drinks
think
in a
this
bag.
is a worm or something to eat and then choke on it?
And after a while, it does get shredded like that, and a lot of animals think that's food. That is not good for animals.
Or they feed it to their babies. They see it in the water and take it to their
We've seen pictures online where they have animals that have that kind of stuff in their tummies. It doesn't digest, and it just eventually kills them. Would you drink this water now? I think we know the answer.
The last one's gonna be the grossest part of all.
So, who polluted the Iowa River?
That was some kind of a bird.
Who polluted the river? Didn't we all? Sort of, a little bit. But the real river, you know, just by living here, we live in houses that were built on, and there was soil that washed away. We all use soap, I hope. You all use soap? Either to wash up and take your baths or to wash your dishes or something. So we all kind of contribute to it, don't we?
Pour more oil.
So we have some feathers to show you. Now I had to buy these feathers. I couldn't find them outdoors because I guess the birds, let the people in one area kind of feel them and feel how neat they are.
This is called the shaft.
And the feathers are made so that they protect the bird and they keep them dry and they float on the water. And we'll show you what happens to the feathers when we put water on them. Here's another feather to put water on. Okay. Do you want to show them? Sure. So this is the bird's protection. And if you see what happens? See how now put it on my hand just a little bit. Now look. Can you see water on my hand?
Yeah.
Can you see water on the feather?
Just a couple
little
of
bit.
beads. Just a couple of beads, but it's not going in, is it? It's like
Wouldn't that be a
always has a
good
raincoat.
protection, like a raincoat, and it makes the duck be, or whatever animal it is, be able to float, like a goose or a swan or any bird like that. It makes them float and it keeps them warm. This is down close to their skin and it's all fuzzy and warm, and then this part keeps them dry and kind of acts like a raincoat.
You can see there's two different kinds of feathers on there. What would happen if a duck was in the water and there was oil in the water and it got it on its feathers?
Should we try it?
Can we try it?
Yeah.
Ew.
It's
Got all dirty.
It's not dirty, but do you think
It can't fly.
See, it didn't roll right off, did it? Not like the other water. See how it's staying on there? It can't fly. And that's the oil and the detergent and everything.
Do you think the
Especially
water's going to roll off again?
So that's what happens when birds get into oil. Like an oil spill is the worst time, but even the little bit of oil that we might,
Ooh, it's pretty wet.
it doesn't stay dry
Can
anymore.
they fly with wet feathers?
No.
Can they get their food? And feed their babies? Make it cold. Oh, make it cold. What do you think if we, sometimes if there is an oil spill, and like up in Alaska there was one, and people went up to clean off the feathers of the birds and put soap on them, do you think that will help? Yeah. Let's try it. This is our
The
soapy
soap helps. That's one thing soap does is it breaks up oil into smaller particles so they wash away.
It worked a little bit.
A little bit, not 100%.
Or
Should we
cut
try water
the
in it?
Or cut
Put
the
soap on
feathers.
it. Didn't really work.
Is that 20 minutes or how long that goes? 20 minutes.
20 minutes, yeah. So we've got a little bit more time. Just
So you can see, now if you let that dry, sometimes the feather gets returned a little bit. But most ducks and geese and things like that get in oil spills, who washes them? Not every time. A lot of times, if somebody doesn't rescue them and try to wash them off and keep them a while till their feathers dry good and everything, they might die. because they don't even float very well anymore. So it's pretty sad. And the only thing they can do is just like grow new feathers, and that takes too long, wouldn't it? So we need to keep oil out of the water. That's really important. So what are some things you could do to help keep our water clean?
Maybe using any garbage in the water, maybe you can pick it up and there's a trash can. If there is a trash can, maybe if your house is nearby the beach, maybe go in there, put in the garbage and come back out to play.
All right. If you're someplace where they fish and you see
Yeah.
fishing line, be careful of hooks. You don't want to
Usually, down at the campsite in hills, there's like trash all over the place where people have been camping. Like,
Isn't that sad? That's sad, isn't it? Yeah.
Now, do you know where you're going?
So guess what? We're all gonna pick up our trash, right?
Okay. Reduce, reuse, recycle.